Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. Apologies for the slight delay. Let's welcome Professor R. Vaidyanathan, also fondly known as Professor RV. But before that, please like this video, and if you have not got your copy of the marigold brooches, kindly get yours today. They have only a few samples left, and also 11th of November, the Armistice Day, is just a couple of weeks away, and we would love all of you who have got your brochures to wear them on that day and also before that. Thank you so much. And now let's welcome Professor R. Vaidyanathan. Professor R.V. Namaskaram and welcome to PGurus channel, sir. How are you?
Always a delight to talk to PGurus audience. As I always say, they are very erudite and provide very interesting observations. And I thank Sree Iyer who runs the show. And hopefully by next Diwali, he should be having a regular TV channel. Let's wait for that. And at the outset, I would like to give all my wishes to all the audience, and including Sree Iyer and Sachin, the best Diwali wishes for the coming, because it's hardly 1 week down the road. And Sree Iyer didn't mention about Sengol. I thought he will mention about it, to be sold at the US as well as in India, right? What happened?
Yes, indeed. Yes, sir. And I'm showing the Sengol also. Sengol also is for sale. We are selling briskly, but you can still get your copy or your sample of mini Sengol. You can order it today, whether you are in India or in US. Sir, over to you, sir. We'll talk about this new alliance within an alliance, RIC.
Yeah. No, it's not alliance within an alliance. It's a sort of an evolving situation. Now, what is happening is tremendous amount of changes are taking place in the global economic situation as well as in the demographic situation. And US itself is eagerly waiting for November 5th about what is going to happen. And that will shape large portions of the global situation. As far as G7 is concerned, they used to have, believe me, 51% of the total GDP of the world in 1990, G7. Today, and around 17, 18, before the Wuhan virus, their share has fallen to 35%. And today it is estimated to be 30%. And the forecast is by 2030, it will be 25%. That's a huge crisis for the Anglo-Saxon countries, the G7 countries. And interestingly, all the G7 leaders except that of Italy are expected to go away in 25. Your Macron is going away, the German Chancellor is going away, and of course the British PM will stay, but already his rating is around 20%. It might come down to 10% perhaps. And others are, Japan is also changing, US is obviously changing. Which way, we have to wait and see. And Canada is expected to change, and forecast is Trudeau may not come back. Anyhow, all the G7 are gone, except Italy, who's that Meloni is carrying on. And the so-called extreme right, they call, whenever there is a right, they don't call it as right. They call it extreme right. There are only 3 situations in the world today, according to the mainstream media: extreme right, moderate, center, and there is no left even they don't mention. They say it to be part of the center. So right and the center. So that is the type of a categorization and the propaganda going on. In Germany, 2 states have been lost by the current chancellor's thing. AfD, Alternate for Democracy, is supposed to be quote unquote extreme right. They have won in 2 states. Austria, again, the extreme right seems to have taken over. And in France, the Macron party was humiliated actually. They came 3rd. The first was the Le Pen of the National Alliance, and then came the Mélenchon. Their left radicals. Then came the Macron's party. So there is a churning taking place all over the world. Hungary is leading the European countries in trying to reject the current position of the EU. He is having alternate formulations, and many are going around with him and other things. So G7 is in turmoil. Let's be very clear about it. And they want to accelerate things before this all the changes comes into being, including the war against Russia, which they started, and it's not going well according to them. Even though it's a very interesting thing. Ukraine is given for 100 million US dollars. It is not Ukraine which is getting it. It is the defense industry of US which is getting it, and who are supplying the arms and ammunitions to Ukraine to fight the Russians, and they are not succeeding much in that actually. And whenever you have a TV comedian as installed chief, this is what the regime change have done in Ukraine. What they are trying to do in or tried, succeeded in Bangladesh also. Iyer, you want to say something?
Sir, we also are forgetting about one stand-up comedian who's now a chief minister, sir. Bhagwant Singh Mann.
Yeah. He is doing well, actually. Anyhow, so the crisis of G7 is twofold. One is economic, other is demographic. They tried all their best to have what is called replacement theory. The Merkel enunciated it. Actually, Stroder in 2000 told, let's import 50,000 Indians. He explicitly mentioned it is as part of his what one can call manifesto in 2000. After that 𝗤𝗂𝘂𝘁 success by the Indians, he wanted to give green card for 5 years. He told first batch 50,000, next batch 50,000 we will have, in order to improve the efficiency and functioning of the German IT sector. There is one Joseph Strauss there, who was Bavaria. He is no more. He was Bavaria in charge. He is something like our these regional party leaders, DMK chief or something. He created a huge noise about it. The Inder will come and take away the jobs of Kinder. He made a big issue about it, and Schröder actually lost the election, and this was given up. After that, Merkel came, and because German and other countries also are facing acute demographic problem. They don't have enough people. The reproductive rate has come down below actually 2. In some Norwegian states, it is below 1. Anyhow, Merkel enunciated that replacement, we will have it with the migration of people. Who are the migrants? North Africans, and many of these war-torn countries like Syria, Lebanon, and Afghanistan, and other countries. And that created a huge amount of impact over the period of time. And there is a huge amount of debate, and because many of these North African country people, they are not adequately equipped to take up any job or anything. They are all living on this state gratis. And the second is, many of them are not only not integrating, many of them are creating local problems and troubles. And 90% of them belong to the Islamic faith. That is another critical factor. This is the position there of this G7. And US is facing a similar crisis from its southern portion, southern border. Venezuelans are coming, and some people are telling it's not southern, but still Haitians are entering into US. And some estimates suggest 200,000 people have come into US in the last 3 years of this government. And many of the states...
Sir. 8 to 15 million, sir. 8 to 15 million have illegally.
Oh, okay.
It's a huge number.
His numbers are much more frightening compared to... And many of the states say that, people without, citizenship can also vote. There is a big tussle going on between the court and between the Democratic Party supportive systems and this Trump system and other thing. It's a very complicated issue. For every state there is some or other type of a pressure, but basically large number of people who are not citizens might end up voting. This is what is the net result of the entire debate there. Anyhow, that is a US issue. Now, in terms of the current global economic position, if you adjust for purchasing power parity, PPP it is called, because the interest rates and other type of inflation rates are not identical in countries. So individual countries' national income cannot be easily compared. For instance, I have some 50,000 rupee salary. My niece is getting $50,000 in US. Both are 50,000. They are not same, because I can hire a housemaid here for 6,000 or 7,000 rupees for cleaning my floor and washing vessels and other things. In US, my niece has to hire per hour something like 80 to 90 US dollars per hour. So what I pay per month becomes something like what is there for per hour. So this is not comparable. In order to compare them, IMF has evolved a technique, econometric model by which the purchasing power parity is compared. We will not go into the details of the methods of computation of PPP, but the only thing is current global position based on PPP, China is the number one country. Let's be very clear about it. Their GDP is 34 trillion US dollar as of 2023, last year, that is December to January 2023. 34 US billion dollars. USA is 24 US, by all are trillion dollars. That is number 2. Number 3 is India, 17 trillion dollars. Number 4 is Japan, far below, 6 trillion dollars. This is based on purchasing power parity. Based on that, we are the third largest economy in the world, next to China, US. If you take nominal term, don't adjust for any of these things, just dollar term, nominal term, US is number 1, 27 trillion, China is 18 trillion, Japan is 4 trillion, Germany is 4 trillion, India is 3.5 trillion. India is 5th in this. This is what we are talking about, making India from 5 to move up. Earlier we were below Britain. We crossed Britain now. We are number 5 in nominal term. Any which way, China is a very, very major economic power today. For instance, in nominal term, it is 18 trillion US dollar. We are somewhere, something like 3.5 trillion. So there is huge gap between China and us. And between China and USA, even in nominal term, the gap is reducing. It's not, and on purchasing power basis, China is number 1. Incidentally, today, 2/3 of the global manufacturing activity is taking place in China. 2/3 of the global manufacturing activity is taking place in China. So they are very, very, very far higher and ahead of all other countries. There is no point in denying it or anything. There is no point in trying to. So they are emerging as or if I can use the word, they have emerged as the single superpower in the world. It cannot be, and declining powers like G7 are dangerous. I always say, you go back 14th century, 15th century, 16th century, the Spanish and the Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, all of them, whenever they were declining, had a huge amount of crisis they created for the world. Declining powers will never accept that they are declining. And now the 7 fellows are sitting around the dining table. India is not in that dining table. There is a small stool put there where Manmohan Singh or Modi ji has to sit in the side. So none of them is going to give the table voluntarily. Let's be very clear about it. It's going to be a messy affair if you also want to sit there. That's the one thing. Second is, they think that they should create some nuisance for India in order to put India in its place, or in order to make India is not a poodle or anything like Pakistan, and India has got its own independent thinking, which itself is not appreciated by them for a very long period of time. It has its own pluses and minuses. Recently, Ian Bremmer has written a brilliant article on how India is maneuvering itself amongst all these complicated groupings and other things. In order, it is able to, Ian Bremmer is appreciative that India is able to sit with Biden, sit with the German Chancellor, sit with Putin, and get whatever they want to do, get it done. And also their oil diplomacy is highly appreciative. How India is able to get a significant amount of crude from the Russia, and then it is able to re-export it to other countries, and Europe is also lovingly buying it. So Indian position is something, and every one of these G7, let's be very clear, they have a good cop and a bad cop. Bad cop will try to create nuisance for you. A good cop it's what I call in Indian terminology, rabdi treatment. If you see, rabdi is being made in huge kadai in many of the northern cities. Rabdi is something like what we call as, our 𝗤𝗚𝘗𝘗𝘖. It's milk getting boiled and boiled and boiled and boiled, and further whatever is left over, and with the sugar added to it. And interesting point is, from below the kadai is having heat. Kadai is kept, and then from below, and from above they fan it. They take a hand fan and then cool it significantly. This is called rabdi treatment. Heat from below and cool from above. Many organizations do it, and for their executives and others, and then create some nuisance from below, and from above cool it. Oh, is it the thing which he did? Oh, he should not have done it. And after telling him to do it, this fellow will make it appear as if the boss. Same way. So they have sent one clown as our ambassador to India. We had ambassadors like Chester Bowles and that type of people. Can you beat this fellow? He comes from, of course, California, I think. And he doesn't have any big...
Why do you have to bring California name, sir? What did California do? Why do you have to bring California name?
He comes from USA. Okay. Comes from USA. He doesn't have any credential. He goes around advising. He goes around talking rubbish and everything. So, Bangladesh, they have succeeded in doing the regime change. And they have done a very massive mistake also. There are complications like whether the previous president's resignation has been accepted or not. Whether she did submit her resignation at all, or is she still the current president, is a very messy situation. But they have succeeded in that, in changing and getting that Yunus fellow as the head. So now what India is on both sides, sandwiched between two jihadi forces, one Pakistan, one Bangladesh. So they think that they can play around with India also. Khalistan on one side, Dravidistan on the other side, and northeast large number of these groupings, tribal and other thing, and the so-called Christian state which they would like to form. All of this is in place, and the worst part of the whole story is, recently a court in US has passed indictment against Ajit Doval, who is our national security advisor, among many others, about their audacity cannot be measured at all. This Panun, who is a Khalistani person, is a terrorist. Openly he says that he will bomb our aeroplanes and other thing. He's sitting in US, given all protection. He's supposed to be a citizen of both US and Canada. Anyhow, Canada is a separate story. US is not taking any action against this Panun, nor it is taking any steps to release that Headley was one of the primary accused and convicted in India for the Bombay attack. The point is, now last time when PM traveled to US, Dowell didn't go, because you never know. There is a, suddenly they may try to send some fellows to arrest Dowell or something. Anyhow, he went for this BRICS meeting at Russia, but not to US. That is the type of a situation they have created. There is a very, very sad state affair. The bad cop in US, as I told you, there is always a good cop and a bad cop. Good cop will embrace you, good cop will say good things and about collaboration, about activity and other. Bad cop will do these type of pinpricks and try to do some mischief with you. This is the type of Henry Kissinger famously used to be told that being enemy of US is quite okay. But being friend of US is fatal. He used to say always. So being enemy is a bad thing, but friend is fatal, because you never know when they will, take action against you. So this is the type of situation which has emerged in the midst of this BRICS conference. Now, something very interesting took place in BRICS. All of you would be knowing about it. Talk between Xi and Modi after a long period, 5-6 years actually gap. I'm very sure Putin would have played a very major role in this, even though it is not come out publicly another thing. This is something very interesting, and there is some amount of disengagement taking place in terms of the LAC, line of actual control. This line of actual control is different than line of control. With Pakistan, we have got a line of control, very clearly demarcated line. But with China, unfortunately, we don't have any demarcated line. So when we go 2 steps ahead and stand there, that is the line of actual control. When they come 2 steps forward, that becomes the line of, it's a very, anyhow, there seems to be a possibility of some sort of a calm on either side for some more period. And Putin has the most interesting way to, he says to Modi that we understand each other so much that no need for translation of my Russian to Hindi or English. This is what he openly told. And Modi couldn't control laughing. That is the level of closeness between Modi and Putin is something fascinating. So, the point I want to make is this: if you take China and India, 140 plus 140 is something like 280, 300 crore population. That's something which is a huge, huge market. No country in the world would like to lose on this. This level of market, particularly the corporate, big corporates are all, for big markets. That is something which is, other than these two, you have Brazil and Indonesia. These are the other 2 countries which have a big market. So this is the 2 countries, and their structure is in terms of civilizationally, let me repeat it again and again, we are much more closer to China than to Europe or to US. And China is our younger brother. I have traveled extensively there. I have taught in Shanghai University of Finance, Sufi. Anyhow, some of the very old Chinese people, they genuinely believe they should take birth in India in order to reach moksha. This is something very, very fascinating, because they think that since Buddha was born here, and many of you may recall throughout the history, Chinese used to invade us, quote unquote, by coming to the sea route near Burma and collect all materials pertaining to music, art, medicine, architecture, construction, everything. You know, when the Chinese revolution of Mao Zedong took place, Chiang Kai-shek went to Taiwan. That's Taipei. That island was he went and occupied it. He took 14 shipload of material. Of that, 7 shipload were of Indian material pertaining to India, which they have kept. If you go to Taiwan today also, there is a big museum on the sort of a hilltop. You can go there. I visited that. They have kept all the Pali, Prakrit, Sanskrit, every one of those materials there, which were taken away. The point I want to stress is what the US ambassador told in 1942 in the Harvard commemoration address. India conquered China without firing a single bullet. This is what was his talk in 42, in the midst of the significant amount of war clouds and war thing in the global situation. He was giving commemoration address at Harvard. He told this openly. So they have let's not try to measure China purely by this communist. First of all, they themselves do not call themselves anymore communist. We only tell they are communist. After the Deng era, they are not considered to be communist. They have encouraged huge amount of private ownership, private companies and everything. So let's not try to measure them using this. And this Communist Party itself is having hardly, they themselves say 10 to 11% of the population is only covered. There is a huge portion which is not touched by the Communist Party. And there is a huge opportunity which we never did. Kindly note, there are something like 16 centers to study India in China. And how many are there in India? Practically only one in JNU. Not many more are there. Our knowledge about China comes only from the Western lens. What New York Times says, what Washington Post. Washington Post and New York Times write rubbish about India. We know about it. Same way we should understand that they can write rubbish about China. Keeping China and India antagonistic to each other is the greatest advantage for the G7 countries, including US, mainly US. They would not that. And as one of my colleagues in Atlanta told, in the worst case situation, they would like India to be Ukraine to the China, which is unimaginable. But I am just mentioning. Listen, they would like if India and China become friendly, and over a period of time, the axis of economic development, axis of economy of the world will shift to Asia. India and China will, because China is extremely good in their hardware, India is extremely good in their software. This combination can conquer the world. And this is what I think, my reading, if it is correct, Russia is trying to encourage. They say that China is the brother and India is the close friend. This is what is the type of thing. So it is not going to come tomorrow. Let's be very clear about it. But over a period of time, the compulsions of both the countries will make it understand, and Russia will be the link which can join both of these countries. Iyer asked me a very interesting question. Rick, can it be Russia, Iran and China? No. Countries like Iran and other things are all too small in terms of their 400 billion GDP and some 8-9 crore population. These cannot play a very major role. Demography is destiny. Countries which have huge amount numbers as well as huge economic power. And most of the Middle East countries have understood that this one product, namely oil, like a one product company, it is not going to what one can call go up anywhere. See, Saudi Arabia already is moving to sports. It wants to be the sports center of the world, whether it is tennis, whether it is football, whether it is, slowly. And other countries are taking up different type of activities, tourist destinations, and they also want to talk about their culture. I do not know what is the desert culture could be. Anyhow, so they have understood. So the oil is not going away, but the importance is coming down slowly because of alternative in terms of non-conventional energy, in terms of nuclear energy, and in case hydrogen begin to play a very large role as it is forecast, then it's going to be a totally different ballgame. That is the thing. So, from the point of view of the future perspective, why Russia should play this role is, it is one of the other countries other than US which has got significant number of nuclear weapons. That is their strength. That is the Russian strength. And Russia has always played a very positive role vis-a-vis India. Actually, our external affairs minister was so blunt. He told at no point of time Russia has made any decisions or any action which is inimical to India. He told that very clearly. And everybody recognizes and remembers their help during the Bangladesh crisis when Nixon was sending that,
Seventh fleet.
shipload of seventh fleet.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so that is the reason why Russia could play a very simple and very good role in this. And again, let me repeat, this is not something which is going to come up in the next 1 week or 2 weeks or something. No, this is the evolving situation, and I feel a new world economic order based on India-China is going to be the most important thing. I always say world was full of requirement of white. Now white times are over. Now it's going to be yellow and brown times. After that, it could be black times. So one doesn't really know about that. So we have demography on our side. One, we have really a thriving economy, and both the countries, both China and India, and of course ours is a much more open type of a economy. Open mean in terms of, anyone can come and see what is happening here and other thing. And being a democracy has got its own positive thing. Amartya Sen used to say the severe famines of the 60s were exposed by our media. So Kalahandi, in Orissa had a very minor debacle in the 70s. 1 or 2 children died actually. The amount of what one can call the chorus of demand on the government and various other by the media and other thing was extremely helpful. Comparatively, China in the 50s, they had a huge amount of famine and drought. Only in the 70s, they accepted it and brought out a paper on what happened in the 50s. So this is the type of, there is a lead lag in China. Events of the one time, events of 60s, what they call GPCR, Great Proletariat Cultural Revolution. That deficiencies were explained only in the 90s under Gorbachev. So it takes a lot of time. Anyhow, economically, they are really doing well. On that, there are no two opinions. It's not cooked up data or anything. Almost all the sectors, they are doing very well. Particularly in automobile, they are doing so well. And, Europe is telling of 100% tariff on their cars. And it's a very unbelievable type of a situation. Recently, 3 economists got Nobel Prize. They told democracy is a prerequisite for economic progress, which is, according to me, which is rubbish. Immediately, one can give an example of China, which is not in that quote-unquote sense of a democratic country in the Western paradigm of democracy. But let's say that they have done extremely well in terms of their economic progress. So what we are discussing is not for tomorrow. Let's be very clear about it. We are discussing the shape of things to come in the context of the global order, and the linkages of India and China, what we call as RIC, Russia, India, China. This relationship is going to alter the entire polity of the world. Take my word for it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Iyer, for your patience, consideration, and cooperation.
Not at all, sir. It was wonderful talk. Viewers, we have a few questions that we would like.
You may be having another program also, right?
Today I have some other engagements, sir. But yes, see, now it's election time. A lot of people who are trying to, put their profile up, and there is some things going on. Viewers, we can go to the question and answer session. But once again, please do consider buying these set of 5 marigold brooches. They are beautifully crafted, and this is something that we should
only few of them are available, right?
Yeah, I've almost sold. I've only about double digits I've left, and I just want to finish this inventory so we can get for next year also.
Very good.
It's a. Remember, I told you there's one more episode that we need to bring out about this, where I talked about what my grandfather went through when in his Second World War. It's a very interesting story. Do listen, look out for that. We'll put it out in the next couple of days. It's important. And I don't know if I should tell or not. Professor 𝗣𝗲𝗿 also has a connection with the Indian Armed Forces. Sir?
No, that's okay. My father was in the Second World War. He was in Sudan. He was in Egypt and Romals. They were fighting the army of the Romal and the British army. He lost his leg, actually, part of the Madras Regiment, Miners and Sappers. And with one leg only. In those days, there was no facility of all these. There was not adequate amount of stem
prosthetics
in the leg. So these were not there. So he has to use crutches, and throughout his life he used crutches only. He was very cheerful, and later on he took up some other job as a typist. And we all grew up under such a situation. Anyhow, so while as another of my uncle, he was in the socialist movement. That is a different type of a story. Who was arrested, and my father-in-law was also a very great socialist leader in Tamil Nadu, and he was under. He worked with 𝗣𝗽𝗼𝗍𝗍 Narayan and various other in the freedom time. And then they were all in the jail. And then, anyhow, November 11th is the Armistice Day, right?
Yes.
So you request our audience to rush and buy it before 11th.
Yeah. So a pack of five brooches costs $10. I urge you to buy 2 packs, because what happens is the shipping becomes a little bit less in terms of like averaging it over the number of brooches you're buying. You can distribute it to your family, your friends. I would like to have children wear it and tell whenever they are asked what is this brooch for, to explain that it is to remember the Indian soldiers who fought in World War I and World War II. And the Armistice Day is 11th November. The war stopped at 11 a.m. So it's all 11s in 1918. So that's the story for you. Viewers, now let's take some questions. Sir, if you don't mind, we'll take some questions from our viewers.
Sure.
Niranjan Pimple, thank you so much for becoming YouTube member.
Thank you.
Manoj Soma, sir, go ahead, sir.
How is it different from Nehru's stunt in the past? Same thing happened then also, sir. At last, how is your health? Your views on employment? Your views. My health is so far so good. As the famous, my mentor, not mentor, but anyhow, a senior, 𝗏𝗏𝗿 𝗓𝙗 used to say that I am in the waiting room of Lord Yama. According to him, anyone who crosses age, of course, I should share it with you a nice anecdote. This 𝗏𝗏𝗿𝗓𝗏 was such a personality. I was in Delhi once. He called me for his birthday party at India International Center. I'm 87th birthday or something. After 2-3 years again, when I was there in Delhi, he called me for 85th. I told, what is this? 2 years before you called me for 87. Now you are calling me for 80. So what is happening? He told, Professor, as you grow old, actually you become less numbers, not more. You don't add numbers, you subtract numbers. He was such a very, what one can call, fascinating person. Anyhow, health is okay as far as going on. Employment in India is phenomenal amount of opportunities are available, except there is a malalignment. People go and do this stupid BA economics, BA history, BA. There is a huge amount of market for plumber, fitter, painter, carpenter, blow molder, all this. Recently I am associated with the construction industry. One of the leading builders, believe me, sir, in Bangalore, he brought people from Orissa by flight, 40 of them, because he told he has to do the finishing, and the finishing work, this marble laying and these slabs and other thing. They are the good people. That is the Orissa labor. So he said, I have to get this thing finished. Time is also an important factor. He brought them by flight. Demand is so much actually. That is why you find in Bangalore or Hyderabad or in Chennai, almost all these type of thing, what I told, is by people from UP, Bihar and Orissa and other. There is according to me, grave mismatch between the opportunities which are available and people who are trying to do this. This is the whole idea that if you do BA economic, then only you are educated, and all that is, I think, is not true. People are much more into these trades or into business. One of my Muslim students, he was a good student, Mustafa. I asked him, why don't you do PhD? He laughed, he smiled at me and told, Professor, I have a very good entrepreneurship idea. He started this idli dosa batter. ID it is called. Actually EAD, but he didn't want to. So he put it as ID batter. It's extremely popular in South. He has become a crorepati. He met me and told, Professor, if he had done PhD, would that have helped me in any way? So I was just wondering. So what I want to say is, it's not that everybody wants to be employed only in India. Vaishyavization is taking place. All are wanting to become Vaishyas. Whether it is this community or that community, everybody wants to be in business. So that also is important to remember. Thank you very much, Soma.
Rohit Akshay sir wants to know, BRICS already announcing a counter UPI system. Do you think it's the beginning of the end of superpower tax?
Yes, we should have taken it up. I thought we will take it up some other time on the entire financial system, changing financial system of the world. This BRICS currency is going to be a very, very important development. Actually, shall I be very frank? We had this 𝗤𝗂𝗏, who was in charge of BRICS. In the 5 years he wasted. He's such a banker, great banker. He should have facilitated in creating this currency. 50 lakh per annum, I was told, is the salary for people. And they are also given a private aircraft to travel anywhere. I do not know what he did for 5 years. We missed a golden opportunity, and I am given to understand that neither Russia nor China are happy about it. Anyhow, we have taken it up seriously now, this issue of having, and hopefully it will have gold as the underlying asset, which China and India both are having adequate numbers. Both of them will be happy to have it as underlying. So it's going to alter the entire transaction system. And our UPI is already creating a huge revolution in the world. Many of the Middle East countries are adopting. Peru is very happy about it. Peru has experimented with that. And I am telling it is going to be spreading in Latin America very much. Peru, as well as other countries like Brazil, are interested in that. A huge market for our this payment system. Of course, one more addition. Even our what one can call this EVM has got a huge global market, but unfortunately, $100 billion market. Unfortunately, our own local politicians are criticizing it, and so it is getting lesser. One of the Atlanta professor was telling me they wanted to use it for the, not just only for regular political election. In US and Europe, hundreds of polls are taking place. In terms of what one can call the parent-teacher association poll, the apartment poll, this poll, that poll, so many. For all those, they can use the EVM. So Atlanta, the professor was telling, for one of their polls, they wanted to try this. But somebody pointed out, in their own country, the leader of opposition says it can be rigged. So how can we trust it? It's something like a calculator which can never be rigged. It's not linked to external world at all. But anyhow, we have a famous Tamil proverb telling, "Swanda selavil sunyam vichikar." In our own cost, we keep a witchcraft on ourselves. Or we can say that like an elephant throwing mud on its own head. Anyhow, that's another. But I tell you, the banking system is going to be profoundly changed if this our BRIC currency is going to come into existence, which I visualize in the next 2-3 years. Next,
please. Maithili wants to know, Sreeji, why has Saudi Arabia not joined BRICS, which they were supposed to? I don't think that's not true. MBS did not go. Mohammed bin Salman did not go. There was a delegation of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. MBZ was there. MBZ was there. Zayman or something like that. Zalman. The UAE king was there. So it's okay.
Anyhow, Iran has been officially inducted into BRICS, announced by Putin himself. And so other countries will slowly, and MBS is tied up in too much complication in trying to solve this. Earlier they used to say Israel-Hamas war. Now they are telling Israel-Lebanon war. Anyhow, some war or other, they have to stop it. And it exposes US like anybody's business. This Blinken has made 100 trips at least. If he had done in private aircraft, he would have got at least what you may call the miles to cover the entire earth some 5-6 times minimum. But he is not being listened to. He is meeting in Doha, he is meeting in that place, this place. Nobody is listening to him. That is it has exposed, actually, if you ask me bluntly, this problem associated with the US as a leader. Anyhow, okay.
Sorry, Sachin is giving an update that so far, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, even though they have got an invitation from BRICS, they have not accepted it officially yet. So there is a clarification there. So let's go on. Next question, sir.
Do you think Modi and Ping melting ice is probably? I think so, but anyhow, there is no reports openly coming out about it. I'm very sure Putin would have played some important role in this. Otherwise, it's not going to have. Okay.
Next one, please.
I think so. GDP in dollar.
Venkatraman, you are talking GDP in dollar terms. How soon do you expect that you'll be talking in terms of unit?
Maybe 3 years, 2-3 years. If I am still around, 3-4 years. Not before that.
Going nowhere, sir. I am going nowhere, sir. And our audience is also coming and listening to us. Nowhere.
Okay.
Thank you, Arun. By accepting unit, are we going to be locking ourselves into an ecosystem which will establish a pecking order in Asia as well? It should not be at the expense of trading with the West.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you see, people are underestimating India like anything. India will take care of its interest. Whether it is NDA or UPA or anybody, our system is very strong. Our top leadership, including bureaucrats and others, they know very well. It's never going to be at someone's expense or anything like that. Okay.
Next one, please. Meghna Agrawal wants to know your views on why Israel is so poised on attacking Iran. What is the real thing?
It is not poised on attack. Some of these we have to understand are called 𝗏𝗏 𝗏𝗏. The stance
yeah.
you take a stance and you say that it's going to happen another thing. It may not. And Israel is extremely, complicated country. The type of, what one can call missiles and the type of, the way they conducted this entire, battery operated pagers to explode at all points of, and then many people perished. You never know what they will do next. Iran, the supreme commander of Iran, Khamenei, he has been moved to a double security place and other thing. They are very worried. So you do not know what Israel will do next. Or Israel may not do anything at all. The point that Israel may do itself is creating so much amount of worries and other things. That is the power of Israel. Right? Okay.
Next one, please. That brings us to a close of today's program. Thank you so much, Professor 𝗲𝗲. We'll be back again in 2 weeks' time, same location with another interesting topic. Namaskar.
Thank you very much, Iyer.